cloud. Okay, so given that this is our first class together, I want to actually just start off by doing some introductions and get to know one another at a deeper level as we're going to do this mod together. So let me go ahead and pull up my slides. Alex, can you see that? Just give me a thumbs up. Just make sure that we're all, on the same page. All right, thank you, sir. So here's a quick bio about me. Like I said, I was born and raised in Pennsylvania. I've been a resident of the Bronx now since 2014. Prior to Year Up, I worked for an organization called the Mind Gym. The Mind Gym is a corporate training outfit. So I worked with brands like Salesforce, Uber, American Express, New York Life Insurance. Spent about 4 years traveling around North America doing that. And then I have a bachelor's of science degree and a master's degree. And this is actually my first year teaching at Year Up. So this class is my first class. So looking forward to not only teaching but also learning from all of you as well to help you kind of grow in your dreams. So what I want to do is I want to get to know you as well. So take a moment and think about 10 things about yourself. But before you do that, don't follow this exactly because I'm going to give you more clear instructions. But the 10 things about yourself can be very generic or they can be detailed, whatever you're comfortable with. It's like here's 17 things about me. All right. So as you can see here, they're pretty plain. My favorite color, my favorite TV show, my favorite, artist, my favorite, you know, um, thing to do for fun. My favorite season, which is fall, which is right now. My birth order, I was the firstborn in my family. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to take, I don't know, 2 minutes. That shouldn't take longer than that, and write down 10 things about yourself. And then I want you to copy and paste them in list form, and then I want you to put them into the chat box. All right. So go ahead, take a few minutes, as much time as you need. Maybe and then go ahead and write 10 things about yourself. And once again, here's my list. If you're like, I'm running out of things to say, everyone has much more interesting things than 10. You probably have 100 things about yourself. So write them down. And then when you're done, copy and paste into the chat box. All right. 90 seconds begins now. All right, take about 30 more seconds. And then once you got your 10, copy and paste it into the chat box. I love some of these. For science, I prefer to drink water, as do I. This is my tumbler that I fill up, 15 times a day. Water and black coffee. Just like hot sauce, same Chelsea. Randy, you've been to India, so have I. We should talk about that. Oh, Sophia, you're a vegan. Wow, that's amazing. That's really tough. Vegetarian, I could like totally see being a vegetarian, but being a vegan, yeah, you love cooking. That probably helps, for sure. Love it, love it. Let's take 10 more seconds. For 3 years, good for you. I'm trying to learn Chinese. Angie says. All right, excellent. Thank you, everybody. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to take a look in the chat box, and I want you to find something that you have in common with somebody else in this class. Okay. So, for example, like I found that Randy and I have both been to India. So, what I want to do is I'm going to ask Randy like an open-ended question, okay, about India. So, an open-ended question is not like, "Hey, when did you go?" And Randy goes, "Oh, I went there 3 years ago." It's like, okay, well, the conversation's over, right? An open-ended question is like this. So, Randy, do you mind indulging me with this exercise and unmuting yourself?
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Randy. So, Randy, I saw on your comments that you've been to India. Like, what did you find to be the most interesting or surprising thing about going to that part of the world?
It's like a whole 180,
Mm,
and it sounds like, yeah, that's obvious, but it doesn't really hit you until you get there.
yeah,
It's very humid. That's the first thing you can feel the humidity as soon as you come off the plane, and that's inside the airport. Um, yeah, it's a culture shock. It's a culture shock, but they appreciate everything they have, even if it's the smallest thing,
hmm,
and everyone's so close knit. That's really cool.
that is cool. Yeah, yeah. And now, what like I'm gonna ask Randy to do is, Randy, I want you to ask me an open-ended question about my experience in India.
When you went to India, what are some things that you took back when you came back to the States?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing for me was just the appreciation, like you mentioned earlier, that people have for what they possess. I think that in the West, we tend to be very we just tend to be very materialistic. Not everybody, of course, but I'll speak in the I tend to be materialistic. So I think coming back from India, it gave me this perspective of wow, people might not have as much as I do, but they seem to have this appreciation for what they have. And I actually went there for a spiritual pilgrimage. So part of it was seeing Mother Teresa's home, where she worked out of, and that was probably the most formative experience, or one of the most formative experiences of my entire life. Seeing the way her and her sisters and her order cared for the vulnerable was really remarkable. So what Randy and I just did was an example of us having a conversation regarding a shared experience we have, and now Randy and I have a unique bond because we've both been to part of the world that not everybody has had the opportunity to go. Which I think Randy and I would both agree. If you ever get a chance, go. It's an incredible country with incredible people. Um, so what I want to do is I want you to do me a favor, Randy. One more thing, I'm going to put you on the spot. Um, look at the list really quick and try to find another person that you have something in common with on the list, and then ask them an open question like I just did to you. So you would say like, "Hey, Jose, I see that you do this. Tell me more about that." So, do you mind doing that, Randy?
Yeah, do you want to give me a second?
Yeah, of course. And why he's doing that, everybody else should be looking through the list and trying to find something they have in common with somebody else. And we'll do like 3 or 4 of these, and then we'll keep going along. But think about a person that you see like, oh, look, me and Ranish have this in common. So, like for example, like me and Ranish, we both love Joe Rogan. So we would talk about the Joe Rogan podcast together. I'd be
Oh, I
interested
could
in.
talk to you about all that all day.
All right, well, office hours 3:15. We can talk about the Kanye West episode because I have a lot to say. All right,
Gotcha.
Randy. Randy, have you found a person that you can ask an open-ended question to?
Yes, Tyrell.
All right, so Tyrell, come off mute, and Randy's going to ask you the question.
Tyrell, I see you say you can rap.
And
Who are some of your influences?
it's funny you asked me that. Eric and I had this conversation in one of our breakout rooms. I really like Jay-Z. He's like my biggest inspiration, and Chance the Rapper, just as a person. I like the way he handles himself and his community. He gives a lot back. So try to keep those two in mind when I look for inspiration.
Some great question, Randy. All right, Tyrell. Now you look through the list, and you have a person in mind that you want to ask an open-ended question to.
Yoel.
All right, you're welcome off mute. And Tyrell, ask your open-ended question.
I'm listening.
I see you said you've always wanted to learn how to play piano. What has stopped you up until this point?
Honestly, I just don't think I have the hands to play piano. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I need way longer fingers to play piano. Other than that, I feel like I could learn the keys and stuff. But yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Tyrell. Yoel, do you have a person that you want to ask an open-ended question to based on their 10 things about them?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Brian a question.
What's up?
So I see that you said you have owned about 15 birds in your whole life. Just asking like what some of those species are, or like, you know, stuff like that. A little bit more about that.
Yeah. So the majority of them, like about 10, were canaries. So like really small birds, just because my mom loves to have like a presence of life in the house. And then the other 5, they range from like different like small parakeets, like cockatiels, mostly. Like right now I have one left, but I had my longest one lived for about 12 years before it died, and then the others just escaped.
Awesome. Great question. Well, Brian, you'll be the last person. Can you
Yeah.
please call on one of your colleagues to ask an open-ended question?
Yeah, I have a question for Chelsea. So on her list, it says she's a big foodie. So I would like to say what her top 3 places are to go eat.
Thank you for the question. I love Korean barbecue. I love tacos. Well, like I don't have like a specific place, but just this food in general. And what would be my last thing? Italian food. It's like carbs. That's the one.
Awesome, Chelsea. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Do me a favor. I know this is your second mod together. You already know each other, but I don't know you all that well. In the chat box, like, why do you think we spent the last like 10 minutes or so doing this exercise? And what was the purpose of doing this interactive, sharing a little bit about ourselves and asking these open-ended questions? Yeah, Chelsea, power is building rapport for sure. Any other reasons you think we did this? To deepen our bonds, to find similarities, for sure. Yep, is engaging, love it, practicing introductions, all of that. Guys talking is know one another for sure. One of the things that I really enjoy about teaching is my background is actually in facilitation. So I look at myself a lot more as a facilitator of knowledge than someone who's just going to stand here and lecture. You're never going to have a class with me where it's just let me pop the PowerPoint and talk for an hour. That's just not how I teach. So it's going to be interactive. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to put you in breakouts. I'm going to do all of that because that's how I like to just keep things moving. Or the piece of feedback that I got from our Plus Delta from Intro to Computers with the IT students was like every single class went by like this. It was like very fast paced, and that's just how I like to function. So when you come here, you have to like really come, you know, in a posture that says like, I'm going to be speaking, I'm going to be sharing, I'm going to be talking to my colleagues. I'm not going to just sit here for an hour and 15 minutes and go off camera and look at my phone. So that's not going to work in this class. It's going to be engaging as best as we can. The second reason I do this exercise is because before getting into Year Up and my job at the Mind Gym, I did a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion training with companies and brands that really struggled with people who were different to get along and work together. And this exercise that we just did was incredible because you would see people who who maybe look different, different ages, different skin colors, different religions, different worldviews, different political affinities. And they would say, oh, you like the Yankees, so do I. And they would talk about the Yankees and they would build this instant bond. And it was, oh, wait, maybe we're not so different after all. And if we can find a bond over something like the Yankees or a restaurant that we enjoy or a borough that we live in, maybe we can learn how to work together collaboratively as well. So that's why I really am a big fan of this exercise. So thank you all for being engaged in that. This is inside of your Schoology, but this is what I call kind of the 10 rules that you need to be successful in this class. I'll give you 15 seconds to read it over. I know that everyone in here knows how to read, so I'm not going to read to you. Oh, wrong button. And do me a favor, I want you to put into the chat box, like, which one of these do you think is the most important to be successful in this class? You just put the number, if you think number 6 is the most important, you put that in the chat box. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to copy and paste that so everyone can have it. Actually, I can't copy and paste it, never mind. So I see number 5, 3, 10, 3, and 9. So 3 got 2. 3 is be a team player. You're going to be assigned to a small team that you work with on a regular basis. This is how the working world works. Even if you're not a group project person, this isn't about group projects. It's about collaboration. Here's the thing that I really enjoy and appreciate about Year Up is not just pumping your head full of knowledge. It's teaching you how to be in the working world. And in the working world, you're going to work with people that maybe aren't your favorite people in the world. I do it every single day. There are people that I would love to, have dinner with, and there are people that I'm really glad I never have to talk to after 5 p.m. And that's just how the working world is, okay? And you're gonna have to learn how to work with people that are gonna be a little bit different than you and think differently than you. And I want to prepare you for that well. Tyrell, number 5, don't be afraid to ask for help. 100%. Listen, at the end of the day, like, I'm here to ensure that you're successful. Like, I want all of you to get your internships. I want all of you to convert into full-time roles at the organizations that you want to. And I want all of you 5 to 10 years from now to call me and say, hey, Eric, I just became a VP. I just became a director. I just became a, fill in the blank, whatever your career path takes you. Like, that's the goal. So if you're ever like stuck on something or uncertain about something, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help in any way that I can. What else we got here? Number 10. Really important is if you were not great at school, that's fine. Like, this isn't school. This is workforce development. This is preparing you for the working world. And this is coming from a person who went to, all K through 12, went to, college and grad school. I'm like, man, I wish I was, 18 like Dondre is, because I would have done this. This is a better path for myself. But, I was told, many, many years ago, before some of you were even born, no, you have to go to college. That's the only option. But the reality of it is that's not the only option. There's lots of options and ways to be successful in this world. So excellent. So thank you all for that. If you want to take another look at that list that is on your Schoology, you can go ahead and check that out. So any questions on that list or anything that we did so far, you can raise your hand. I'd be happy to field those questions. If not, we'll keep going. All right, going once, going twice. Okay. First of all, thank you to everybody who submitted the deliverable that was due last night. For those of you who did not do it, that was a discussion board where you had to watch videos and read articles about what project management is, and give a list of the kind of 10 things that you think it is and why it's important in your career. So for those of you who submitted it, if someone could just put in the chat box, like, what is something that you learned about project management through that deliverable? What is something that you got the understanding of? So in the chat box, what is project management? Why should you care? Why is it important in a work environment? Yep. Chelsea Powers is all about teamwork. Dondre, the project management can save money. Brian is nicely compensated. Yeah, Brian, can you unmute yourself and share what you found in your research about, like, what a PM earns in 2020 in New York City?
I'm not sure it was 2020. I saw a 2019 statistic. It said I think it was like 96,000.
Yeah, it's a pretty good amount of money, I would say. And the reason why it's such a high demand role is because what Chelsea and Dondre mentioned earlier. It's all about teamwork. It saves people money. It helps companies achieve their vision. It's a growing industry. And one thing I'm going to add is that a lot of our intern sites, they want their teams to their interns to know, not to be experts in project management, but at least to have some sort of framework of how it works. Because the ability to influence others, which is so critical in all of our jobs and all of our industries. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my my screen. Alex, can you see that? You can just give me a thumbs up. Thank you, sir. All right. What is project management and why should I care? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a scenario. All right. Opening activity. I know that it's, sort of wonky, but I want to give you an opportunity to practice how well you can plan. So I want you to imagine that you're sitting here, you're in your Europe class. It's Tuesday morning. It's a rainy, dreary day. You're trying to, achieve your goals, and you get news that your long lost cousin has passed away, has left you an inheritance. All right. A good amount of money, like more money than that would change your life forever, because she loves the direction your life is going. The only problem is that your cousin passed away in Wellington, New Zealand. And according to the laws, you have to go there in person to collect your inheritance. All right. So the last class, people were trying to do workarounds, trying to look up, tax codes and how much would it be to transfer it or wire it. For the sake of this, conversation, we're just going to say you have to go to Wellington, New Zealand to claim your inheritance. Because of COVID-19, you can't fly there. You have to find another way to get there. And you have 30 days from today to go collect it. And you have a max of $10,000 to spend. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes by yourself to go figure out how you would do this. Are there any questions on this activity and how to accomplish it? You can go ahead and raise your hand. All right. So my question for you is, how would you manage it? How would you do it? So you can go off camera for this. I'll copy and paste it into the chat box so you have it. And let's see who can go claim their inheritance. Go ahead. All right, folks, you got 1 minute. Okay, please make your way back onto camera. I am very impressed. Some of you figured this out in like 2 to 3 minutes. So I'm really curious to hear how you did that. So just I want to find out using the participant tab on the right of your screen. You should see everyone's name. If you don't see that, press participants on the bottom. And give me a green check if you were able to go to Wellington, New Zealand and claim your inheritance, or a red X if you're like, I tried, but I could not stay in that budget, or I could not figure out a way to get there without flying. All right. So I see a few green checks. I see a couple of red X's. Let's hear from Sophia. Sophia, what was your game plan to get your inheritance from your cousin?
All right, so what I was thinking was that I could drive from here to San Francisco, and which would be like 43 hours of a drive. So I would need to take breaks. But I was thinking drive to there and then take a cruise that goes to Auckland, New Zealand, in 17 days. So I would get there before the 30 days is up, and then I would need to figure out how transportation once I get there. But that was what I was thinking.
Okay, so you could like rent a car or something like that to get to Wellington from Auckland. All right, so you went the cruise route from the West Coast. All right, someone want to raise their hand if they have a different way that they got to New Zealand? Let's hear from Preciosa.
Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I put you could either drive, take a boat, or a traveling bus.
All right, Preciosa, how would you drive to New Zealand? It's an island in the Pacific Ocean.
That's a good question. I didn't even think about. Wow. Okay.
It's all right. Yeah, that's what makes it complicated for sure. Thanks. Anybody else want to raise their hand that you have a different answer than Sophia or Preciosa? All right. Let's go with Ranish. Is it Ranish or Ranish? Or I want to make sure I say it right.
It's Ranesh.
Ranesh.
Yeah. I said I'll take a flight to Sydney,
Okay.
since the airports are still open there, and then I'll find, since I have 10,000 of a budget, I'll find a local fisherman or whatnot and take that boat about 10 hours all the way out to New Zealand.
Yes, thank you so much. And Sophia says he said no flying, but I said there's no flying into New Zealand. I never said you couldn't fly to another country nearby. Sophia just wants that really, really long cruise from California to New Zealand. So that's going to be a hike. All right. I see some hands are still up. Thank you so much, Ranesh. If you had a different answer than Sophia or Preciosa or Ranesh, keep your hand up and I'll call on you. And if not, you can put your hand down. How about Chelsea? How are you going to get to claim your inheritance?
Okay, so from what I said is, okay, I'll take a train to as low as I can get in the United States, probably San Diego-ish. And then I would try to get a boat to Hawaii. Then another one. Take a stop first and then make my way.
There you go.
If I have a good budget, then I think make that happen.
Cool. So you're gonna take a little vacation in Hawaii before you go claim your inheritance. Love it. All right. Last report out. Anybody else want to raise their hand? They had another way of getting there. We can all see there's different ways to end up in Wellington, New Zealand. Dondre. Oh, we can't hear you, Dondre. You sound like you're Mickey Mouse. Can you? 1 second. All right, we're getting the one. Hold on a second, finger. All right, while we're waiting for Dondre, Brian.
I didn't hear Renish's first part. I don't know how he said, so I don't know if it's the same as him. But I was looking up the prices because I guess I took it too seriously with the $10,000 budget.
Yes.
And I saw flights to Sydney were around like $3,000. And then from there on out, I actually looked up like a boat that I could rent out with a driver for another $3,000 a week to take me all the way to the exact place I have to go to.
Wow. All right. Excellent. So you're gonna fly to Sydney and take a private boat. Is that right? Wow. Good for you. You're balling. All right, Dondre, can we hear you now?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. You sound much better.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, so
All
I
right.
came up with like 10 different ways. I was gonna take a flight to a country close to Sydney, but then I thought you couldn't fly. Then I was like, all right, we're gonna take a boat, but then that wasn't gonna work because it was like 49 days from United States to New Zealand. So I was like, that's not gonna work. So I was like, my last option was to contact Elon Musk, use like some of the money to buy solar panels, and then contact Elon Musk to borrow one of his spaceships and then fly over to New Zealand. I mean, I don't know how that was gonna work. I don't know about the logistics, but
Hey, you know what? Elon Musk has responded to stranger tweets in his life, so you could say about become an investor in Tesla with your inheritance. All right, Tyrell, do you have a different way to go?
I flew to Fiji.
Okay.
Since there's $94 a night resorts, so spend a few days out there.
Yeah.
Sail down.
Sail down. There you go. You can sail from Fiji to New Zealand. That'd be a nice trip. I have to go look at the map, but very good. So this is what I did. I said I found a flight 55 hours and make for a very long day, but you can get from JFK to Sydney for $2,635. And then once I land, there's a Carnival cruise that goes from Sydney to New Zealand, $603. And I would arrive in Wellington on November 20th, collect my inheritance, and then post a selfie on the beach holding on my money that I just got from my cousin. So my total cost for the flight, cruise, Ubers, and food, about $3,500, give or take. So I'm under budget quite a bit. My timeline, 24 days. So I had 6 days to spare. So what we just did, believe it or not, is a form of project management. Okay. I'm going to break down exactly what project management is and why what we just did was a form of it. Truly, it'd be a better form if it was in a group, but for the sake of time, we just did it individual today. But project management is broken up into 5 different steps called a project life cycle. So for those of you who did the deliverable that was due last night, you've already probably read about this or watched a video on it, but the 5 life cycles in project management, 5 steps in a life cycle of project management. Number 1, initiation. Okay. This is the point where it's like, okay, this project, it has to get done. It has to get accomplished. So we need to get to New Zealand because I need to claim my inheritance that my cousin left behind for me. That's the very first step in project management. Step number 2, planning. So what we did in this exercise is this is the route I'm going to take. Some of us took a cruise from California to New Zealand. Some of us took a sailboat from Fiji. Some of us took a cruise ship from Australia. We all found different ways to get there, but we need to know how long is it going to be, how much is it going to cost. These are all the questions that you have to answer in project management. Number 3, this is the most important step in the process, is execution. So out of curiosity, how many of you at one point in your life, I'm gonna go back a step, one point in your life, whether it was professional or personal, you had like a project that you wanted to complete and you had the idea, you planned everything out, but then you never actually executed? You can raise your hand. I'll raise my hand too, because that's been part of my life as well. I'm like, I'm gonna get this done. I never actually got it done. So, all right, great. You can lower your hands. Thank you so much. This is the most important step in the process. Executing, I know I'm going to do, and I'm going to go do it. Next step, this is monitoring. This is making sure you're staying on progress. So for our example of going to New Zealand to claim your inheritance, like what are you going to do if your flight gets delayed or canceled? Or what are you going to do if you get to the border of New Zealand and they say, oh, we're not letting you in the country because you just came from a hot spot and you have to self-isolate for 2 weeks? What are you going to do if your cruise, goes off track and ends up going to Japan instead of New Zealand? So you're monitoring, you're making sure things are staying on track. That's an important part of the process in project management as well. Then the very last step, this looks like a lovely sight on this cold, wintry day in New York City, where there's not even the sky's like gray and ugly. Is now you're rich in New Zealand. You've done everything. You closed it out. Those are the 5 steps in the life cycle of a project. So let's talk about what a project is not. All right, a project is not regular routine tasks. So in your career, you're gonna have things that you do every single day. Maybe you do them every single week. Like for me, for example, in my role as an academic instructor here at Year Up, pretty much every single day I spend time grading. Like that's just part of the regular cadence of my day. I usually do it like after lunch for like an hour. I'll grade all the work that has been done by the participants. That's a regular routine. So take a moment and think about what is a regular part of your routine when you get into your internship. So you can go ahead and put it into the chat box. But when you get into your internship or your career, what's going to be something that you're going to do regularly, be a normal part of your role? So I said for me, it's grading. For me, it's teaching classes. For me, it's having a one-on-one with my manager. For me, it's having a weekly team meeting with my team. For me, it's attending the LC events, so Monday morning kickoff, Friday feedback. Yep, Randy says you check your emails. That's a regular task you're going to do every single day. So it can either be every day or every week. Yep, you're going to brush your teeth. You're going to brush your teeth at work. That's good. You're going to do a check-in. Absolutely, Chelsea, with your manager, with your team. You're going to communicate. You're going to report to your supervisors. Tyrell says, yep, absolutely. So these are just regular things that you do. The bulk of your work as an employee is going to be this. It's going to be regular parts of your day. And then you're also going to have what are called projects. Some of them are going to be very large. They're going to take months. Really big ones will even take years. And some will be very small. They'll take a day. They'll take a few weeks. How many of you can raise your hand? You know who Keith is, Keith Roseborough. He works with corporate engagement. So I see all of you raising your hand. So Keith and I, we did a joint project together. And he and I'll go ahead and share the list. We did all the things that a project is. Like a project, y'all can read this. I'm not going to read it to you. But we had an opportunity because Keith and I are both very good at Zoom and kind of the functionalities of it and how it works. So we were asked by the leadership of the New York site, hey, can you give a presentation on how to facilitate a Zoom conversation with ease? So Keith and I did this together. We had 3 or 4 meetings. We built a PowerPoint deck. We had our talking points. And then 2 Tuesdays ago, we gave that presentation to our team. So this was a project because it had a clear start and end date. It was temporary in nature. It was new. It was not like a regular part of our working life. It was successful because the goals were met. The goals were to help our colleagues navigate Zoom a little bit better. It had cross-organizational participation because it was myself from the academic team, Keith from the corporate engagement team. So all of those things together. So go ahead and lower your hands, Dondre and Brian, because I want to test your knowledge to make sure that you know what a project is. So I'm going to go ahead and put up something on the screen. And if you think this is a project, I want you to raise your hand. All right. So raise your digital hand if you think that digitizing your paper documents that you received that day and then you shred them, raise your hand if you think that is a project. All right, no one has their hand up. Rescience, why is this not a project? I see your lips moving. You're off mute, but I can't hear you. Yeah, once again, I can't hear your Rescience. Sorry. You can go on mute. We'll go over to, let's see here. Yoel, why is this not a project?
I don't think it's a project because it sounds like an everyday task that you would do, not really something that has a start date or an end date. Mm-hmm. It's just something you would do as a small task. It's part of your day.
Yep, absolutely. You're exactly right. This is not a project. This is an everyday task. Next one. This is an IT example, but we can use it here in IO. Your boss tasks you to transition your help desk ticketing software to a new platform. Raise your digital hand if you say this is a project. Keep it down if like, oh, this is not a project. All right, Angie Martinez, I see that your hand is up. Why is this a project, Angie?
Because they need to transfer it to another kind of program. So it will take some time to complete it.
Mm-hmm. So it would take time. Tyrell, why else is this a project?
Your boss was assigned it to you.
Yep, you got assigned to it. Yep. Sophia, why else is this a project?
I feel like this is probably not something that you're gonna be doing every day. So because you're ticketing the software to a new platform, that's probably something that doesn't happen often.
Yeah, exactly. So if we go back to this right here, this has a very clear start and end date. This is very clearly new and unique. This has a cross collaboration with other people from the team. So does all those things. So this is definitely a project. All right, thank you. You can lower your hands. All right, project or not a project. Every Thursday at 4 p.m., you and your boss sit down, discuss about the past week and your goals for next week. Raise your hand if you think this is a project. Keep your hand down if you're like, no, this is not a project. All right, Jose, your hand is not up. Why is this not a project?
It's something you're doing like on a weekly basis. So it's kind of like mundane stuff. It's kind of like stuff you just have to do.
Yes, absolutely. It's a regular part of your job. It's a regular task that you do. It's not something that's new. All right, I believe this is the last one. All right, you've been asked by one of your colleagues to join the DEI task force in building out a series of new trainings to deliver to your workplace to build a more inclusive culture. Project or not project? Pay attention to the language here. All right, Chelsea, I saw your hand go up first. Why is this a project?
I want to say it's a project. So based off of the steps, so there was already a plan. Well, okay, it was initiated. There's already a plan. Now they're trying to get the execute. You involved. That's part of the execution. This doesn't seem like a regular task.
Mm-hmm. No, that's perfect, Chelsea. You hit the nail on the head. This is not a regular task. It has a clear start date and end date. It's going to require collaboration from different, team members. So this is absolutely a project. So thank you so much for that. You all can go ahead and lower your hands. It seems like you have a good handle on what a project is or isn't. Also, another thing I'm going to mention, one of the ways that I teach is that I will upload this PowerPoint deck in addition to the video on Schoology. So if you if I have something on a slide that you are trying to write down, but you don't get it right away, it'll be on there by this afternoon. You can just go in and be like, okay, this is what I missed. All right. So we got about 20 minutes left. So I got one more small activity for all of us to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put you into a breakout here in a moment. And what I want you to do is I want you to think of a project that you have done at one point in your life. This can be a personal or professional example. And I want you to get in your group and talk about that. So I gave my example earlier. Keith and I did that presentation for our colleagues, like how to best navigate Zoom. That was a project. Had a clear start date and end date. It had different teams coming together. It was new and unique. It was not a mundane task. And somebody in the previous class shared that her and some of her friends planned a peaceful protest together. Like that was an example of a project. That was a personal example. So whatever you want to put, I'm going to put you into groups of about 3. There'll be a couple groups of 2. But go ahead and spend let's do 8 minutes with your colleague, and we'll come back at 11:35 and hear about some examples of projects. Any questions? All right. See you all soon. All right, welcome back, everybody. Please do me a favor in the chat box. Type in what project did you and your partner or your team discuss that you've done at one point in your life or career, personal or professional, in the chat box. Just want to make sure that we all have a strong handle on what a project is. Building a custom deck. So Dondre, can you unmute yourself? Is that a PowerPoint deck or is that like a patio that you sit on the back and like, have a barbecue?
So it says desk. So I built a custom for my.
I'm sorry. This is only my fifth coffee today. I need like 7 before I can read English. Build a custom desk. Okay, great. Thank you. Sophia, you built a volcano. Wow. I don't know how you do that. Well, how does that work?
That was a long time ago, but it was for a school project, and basically, crochet, you have to like wrap wiring and shape it, and then paper mache it, and then paint it.
Okay, awesome. Very cool. I thought you meant like you built like a real volcano, which I was going to be really, okay. God, this makes a lot more sense. Sorry. Okay. Chelsea says, Jose said him and his friends are starting a studio. Very cool. Jose, tell us about your studio.
Yeah, so we just got a space. We recently started renovating, started soundproofing. We put a lot of equipment in there. And yeah, that's basically the process we're in. But we planned it like in December, and then we just started executing last month. So
okay, cool. And where's your studio going to be at?
I live in Yonkers, so it's in Yonkers. It's close by.
Nice. Well, congratulations to that. I'm sure Tyrell and Randy will want to come and, do some music soon. Sophia's an artist, musician as well, right? Lots of musicians in this room. Very cool. We'll have to have an IO, recording session. So awesome. Yep. Alex worked with a major project with a big company. He was in charge of investing money. Awesome. Wow. Ranesh, what was the Verizon Foundation Shark Tank? That sounds really interesting.
So I'm sure you guys all know what Shark Tank is. Verizon had their own Shark Tank, the Verizon Foundation, and I actually delivered a pitch for an investment for an app we developed, and got the investment for the app.
Oh, awesome! That's so cool. So that definitely was a project. And your app, is it still in use, or did you guys sunset it?
It belongs to the business that we work with, a clothing company. It's like augmented reality, so like it scans your body and like tells you your size of your clothes.
Oh man, I need that because my clothes never fit right. All right, cool. Thanks for that. Really appreciate that. Excellent. So yeah, great job. It seems like everybody has a strong handle on what a project is. That was really the goal of today's class, and to get to know one another a little bit better. Are there any closing questions? You can raise your hand. If not, we'll talk about the deliverables and we'll call it a morning. All right. Well, thank you all for being a part of today's class. Alex, thank you for being a great assistant instructor. If you don't mind, can you just come off mute and read the deliverable that actually was due last night, but if you haven't done it, please do it today. And we'll sign off for the day.
Read the deliverable. Where?
I just put in the chat box.
Okay, all right. Do a quick Google search, watch videos, read articles, and digest 10 reasons why everyone needs to learn project. Wait, isn't this the old one?
Yeah, this is what was due last night, and then there's a second part of it as well.
In a list format, type those. Okay, in a list format, type those 10 reasons out in complete sentences, no spelling errors, into a discussion board, which was due last night. Respond to at least 2 posts by tomorrow.
Yep. So we're letting you go 5 minutes early, so you can go right now and respond to 2 posts, and then you're done. And I'll see you all tomorrow. What time's our class tomorrow? Do we meet at 9? I think. Let me look at my calendar. Tomorrow is the 28th. It is my daughter's first birthday, and yes, we meet at 9. So see you all tomorrow at 9. Have a great evening, and we'll be in touch. See ya. Hey, Jose, do you have any questions?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
It's all right. See you later.